with me now. Go with me now. I'm gonna take you down. Go with me now. I'm gonna show you how. Go with me now.
It's real economics now. It's like we're really getting into it. All right.
For the last 3 years, I have served as troop leader of the Pawnee Rangers. This is our handbook. I wrote the whole thing myself.
So watch that again.
For the last 3 years, I have served as troop leader of the Pawnee Rangers. This is our handbook. I wrote the whole thing myself.
All right. Very nice. Do we have a handbook? No. No. I actually like his handbook because really, even though it was designed for guys, because it was the Pawnee troop, whatever, Boy Scout type things, Pawnee Rangers. Yeah. But it made sense. Be a man. What does that mean? Do the right thing. That's all it means. Just own up to what your mistakes are. Grow a mustache, maybe. Yeah. Okay. You could also sum it up as just be responsible. Okay. Our handbook that I was about to talk about, though, is the Bible. Have you all heard of the Bible? Okay. You could sum it with a couple of things, too, right? You could sum it up in a couple of words. That's it. Yeah, what would Jesus do? All right. But let's go ahead and read this. Who's got this today? Who got it? Nick. Nice. All right. So that's the point. We can use the Bible as our handbook because it's full of good information to help us be better people. Okay? All right. Who's got the prayer today? Huh? Okay, go ahead. Amen.
Dear God, thank you for this day. Thank you for giving us this whole week. Hopefully it's going to be a week for everybody. Please help lunch put it. Please help us find a lot of it. We'll pray today.
Amen. So when you say hope lunch comes quick, are you saying you hope econ gets over with quickly also? Okay, at least he's honest. Valerie can't get enough, but, whatever. Yeah. All right, so check this out, guys. It says graph the supply and demand for cosmetic surgery using data from the table to the right. So we learned demand. Price is getting bigger, right? You'll see how the price gets bigger and the quantities are getting smaller. You all remember that? Okay, that's the law of demand. Now we're adding supply to it. What's happening to the quantity supplied as the price gets bigger? They're getting bigger. All right. At what price is the quantity demanded and the quantity supplied the same? All right, good. And the quantity at each of those is 15,000. All right. That's important because we're going to draw the graph over here, but we're drawing it without the benefit of the data now. Okay. The data's gone, but we remember what it was, right? So I'm going to draw a graph. It's got what curve is that? I forgot. That's what was it? No, it's this is labeled quantity. I remember that's price. Yeah, that's demand, Kennedy. Good. But I'm going to draw another one. What do you think that one's called? There you go. And then it's got a point right here in the middle. Okay? That point corresponds to a specific price and a specific quantity. In fact, this quantity is where the quantity supplied and quantity demanded are equal, correct? So that quantity was 15,000. Okay? And what was the price? No, the price was 3,000. Yeah. Okay? Everybody cool? All right, the next question. Let's keep answering these questions. So we've done that. And then what is the equilibrium price and quantity? That's what this is. So this little dot where the two curves cross is called our equilibrium. Okay? We learned something new just now. Equilibrium. Okay? At equilibrium, that's when the quantity for supply and demand are both equal. And they have to be equal at a specific price. And so the equilibrium price is 3,000. Equilibrium quantity is 15,000. Next question. All right, now let's use our knowledge. Justin, you said Did it finally make sense, right? All right. So how would price and quantity be affected if people's incomes increased and they wanted to look more like a supermodel? What would shift? Yeah, the line, the one that you're making with the shape of your arm right there. No, the line, not the P and Q line. Say it. Say it. Yeah, the demand curve would shift. Okay. Higher incomes mean we're going to buy more stuff. Very good. All right. But then the main part of the question was this: how are price and quantity affected? So what we did when we shifted this demand curve to the right, the old demand curve no longer exists. So now we have a new equilibrium. And so now you can say what happened to price and quantity. Can't you, Justin? All right, what's the answer? Price and quantity, what happens? All right. To arrive at the answer as to what happens to price and quantity, you had to shift the demand curve. So that's the part you've done. Okay? Now we have the new equilibrium at the red dot, and you just have to tell us what happened to the price. There you go. And what happened to the equilibrium? It increased as well. Okay? So the new price is greater than $3, and the new quantity is greater than 15,000. Yes, sir. Yeah, we'll do that in a minute. That's kind of what we're doing here. Okay? We just caused the demand curve to shift. Okay? Let's keep going though. The next question. How would price and quantity be affected if a study proved that cosmetic surgery causes infection? And there's a very strong likelihood of death. Now what happens? Comes back. That's right. That would cause a decrease in demand. And when the demand curve shifts left, what happened to the new price? Okay, price drops and the quantity drops. Okay, so far so good? All right, we're about to go over your question. Okay, Drew? All right, the next question is, what if Obamacare allows the government to regulate the kind of medicine a doctor can practice? This is a lot of lines. I'm going to get rid of all these. Everybody okay with that? Okay. We're going to get new lines. All right. So let's go back to it. We've got supply, we've got demand. We still got, so we're at our original equilibrium. Okay? What would happen here now if the government decided what kind of doctors we needed? Do you think they would? Do you think the government would choose to have as many plastic surgeons? Or can y'all think of a better, maybe a better way that would benefit more people? What do y'all think? Yeah, like let's say Valerie is going to become a doctor. And we need to have more, what kind of doctors? We don't need as many plastic surgeons. But yeah, we need more people in the ER to take care of all the gunshot victims. Okay? So the government tells Valerie, you cannot be a cosmetic surgeon, you need to be an ER doc. So what would happen then to the supply of cosmetic surgeries? It would go down. This is actually what we're doing today. That would cause a shift in the supply curve. And then what happens to the price? Okay? The price would go up because there's not as many available. And because the price is higher, not as many would be done. Okay? Now, let's go over your question. Okay? The last 2 days we spent on demand. And one of the big things was the difference between quantity demanded and demand, right? So let me show you what happens here. It looks like when supply changed, okay, it went up. It went down. Ooh. Okay. When supply decreased, that led to, hi. Man, we have a lot of mail today. Oh, I don't have this person. I'm 100% certain I don't have Samantha Lynn. Do I? Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay, the change in supply led to the change in price, made the price higher, right? And people respond, because do you like to buy things at high prices? Okay. So that caused a change in the quantity demanded by going lower. Okay? So all the time we were talking about demand, I was talking about how price can change, causing a change in the quantity. Well, now we know why it is that the price changed. Do you see why the price changed? Supply decreased. That's what caused the price change. We're going to do more of this, so more explaining will come, okay? Let that one. Next time we are taking a quiz. I can promise you. It's over everything having to do with supply and demand. Okay? We're just taking a daily quiz next class. Yep. 2 more classes, you'll have a major quiz. Okay? I don't know what day it is, but yeah.
Since we don't have school Monday, this Kia is due by Tuesday.
It's always due by the next class period. Okay? Kia. All right, rolling on. So now we're combining supply with demand. Okay, this is why we spent two days on demand. Okay, we wanted to make sure it was completely clear as to the difference between a quantity demanded and a demand curve shift. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with supply though. You guys have lived your lives for 17, 18 years, right? During that time period, you guys have bought things, right? Sometimes you use your own money, sometimes you use somebody else's, but either way, you tried to maximize what you get with your money, correct? Wouldn't you try to do that? Okay. If you were on the other side of that market, if you were a supplier, you would try to get as much from your customers as you could. Okay, so consumers and producers feel differently about high and low prices. When we want to buy something, we want a low price, right? And if we're going to sell something, we want a high price. Okay? And we also learned that the law of demand says that we will buy more as the price goes down. Okay? But interestingly enough, producers will supply more when the price goes up. So it's a little bit tricky. It's like, how do they meet, how is it that producers and consumers can decide on what price they're going to pay? And it all boils down to your little X. Okay. The market. Okay. We're going to end up paying that price right there at the X, the equilibrium, and producers are going to end up selling at that same price because that's where we've agreed, where it's mutually beneficial. All right, are y'all happy with this? So far, so good? It's pretty commonsensical. If you buy things, you want to buy it at a low price. If you make things, you want to sell it at a high price. Okay? Okay. Good. Okay. Lemonade.
Wow, Peter, I gotta say, this lemonade stand was a really good idea. It's selling really well.
That's nice. Have y'all ever sold lemonade? I did it when I was a child. I think it's a rite of passage. Everybody does it. Did you sell it for 5 cents? No. Well, how much? 50 cents? Okay. When I was a little child, I sold it for 25 cents. Seems, it's not bad. I don't know. I wasn't cute or anything like that, so I didn't have a lot of customers. But you do what you can. We're going to do an example selling lemonade, since y'all have experience doing that. Okay? I just want to find out how many of you would be willing to produce and sell lemonade at those prices. So we'll just take a poll. Okay? What this means is, by the way, if you're selling lemonade, that means you can't do other things, right? If you're busy at work, that means you can't be watching TV, you can't be doing homework, you can't be at a different job. Okay? That's all you can do. So if the price of lemonade were 5 cents, how many of y'all would produce lemonade? Oh, wait a minute. Fez, you have a question? You sure? Oh, yeah. Why would I think that? No, I think they're going to pull it out. We'll see, though. All right, raise your hand if you'll sell lemonade at 5 cents, foregoing every other opportunity you might have. Anybody? Yeah, I wouldn't either. What if you could sell lemonade at 10 cents? Okay. Nobody? All right. If you guys could sell lemonade at 25 cents, would you? Ah, we got a girl. Oh, Corbin, you would? Okay. Yeah. 4. Wow. It's interesting. I would assume all of y'all would also do it at 50 cents. Okay, so the same group. Raise your hand if you're not in the original group of 25 cents. Okay, 50 cents. Wow. 11. If it's $1, if you could sell your lemonade for $1, we add. I'm adding. Okay. 21. $5 a glass. I might do this now. Okay. 10. There's nobody left? That would be everybody? Okay. Okay. Why would it ever be that price? The only possible reason it would be that price is if this equilibrium was at $25. That's the only way. Okay? But let's eliminate the demand curve for now. Let's clean all this up. We created we ended up with this. Okay? That's an upward sloping curve. So as the price goes higher, the amount that we're willing and able to sell also increases. Doesn't that make sense? Okay. What's what? Oh, it's 0. We are going to devote more and more of our time and resources to producing lemonade. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah, we'll make more. If somebody's going to pay me $25 a glass for lemonade, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to sell lemonade. Okay? All right, so basically, let's answer a few questions. All right, we haven't defined the law of supply, but can you guess what it is? As prices go higher, what happens to the quantity supplied? It goes higher. There's a direct relationship. So does our supply curve conform with that? Okay. A couple more questions. As the price increased, what happened to the opportunity cost of not producing lemonade? Good. It increased. You could lay in bed all day and not sell lemonade, but when it's $25 a glass, what are you giving up by laying in bed? A lot, right? So the opportunity cost increases as the price goes up. Also, as the price increased, do you think iced tea makers would begin to make lemonade instead of iced tea? They could do that, right? But if it basically takes the same resources, right, to make lemonade or tea. So if you're currently a tea producer and lemonade's going for 25 bucks a glass, I bet you anything you would switch and start making lemonade. And number 4, at $25 per glass, would you work overtime or maybe even hire other people to help you make lemonade? Yeah. These 3 questions at the bottom illustrate why it is the supply curve is upward sloping. Okay? So we'll talk about those in a few minutes. So just like we had to use individual supply or individual demand to create a total market demand curve, we do the same thing with supply. So the total market supply curve is based upon all of the producers and their individual opportunity costs of not producing, etc. We add all of these individual firms to get the total market supply curve. Okay? So makes sense, right? In fact, let's look at this for a second. Can you buy a Whataburger for $2? Maybe, that's it, right? I mean, you can't. So this market supply curve, you end up with more and more producers willing and able to supply as the price goes higher. Okay, when the price gets up to here, you get more and more people willing and able to produce at that price. When the price is way down here, they're not willing and able to produce as many. Okay? So that's why the supply curve's upward sloping. Pretty good, though. No, this is just illustrating that, at the $2 price, maybe Whataburger's only willing to produce 10,000 of them because they're going to devote more of their resources towards a patty melt or a chicken sandwich or something. Okay? That's all that means. All right, rolling on. So the law of supply, it says as the price increases, so does the quantity that is supplied. So there's a direct relationship. And then the opposite's true. As the price decreases, bless you, then there's a decrease in the quantity supplied. Okay? S refers to the whole supply curve, just like D referred to the whole demand curve. And then QS refers to points on the curve that correspond to a specific particular price. A change in quantity supplied is the result of a price change. Okay? Remember, there's only two variables in this graph, right? Price and quantity. So when price changes, the only thing that's going to change is quantity. Now, we can look at why the price changes. Why would the price go from P1 to P2? What is the only reason? There's only one reason why. No. What causes the price to rise? Thank you. Okay? The demand curve must have increased. That's the only reason the price would go up. Okay? Along a supply curve. So the order of events would go like this. First thing happened, demand goes up. That results in price going up. If the price is higher, y'all already demonstrated that when the price goes up, you're willing and able to produce more, right? So the third thing that happens is as a result of the price change, quantity supplied increases. Okay? It's not that difficult, is it? Okay. I told you when we first started demand that this is the most difficult concept to get for whatever reason. Once you get it, though, once it clicks, I think you'll be fine. So don't get frustrated. All right, 3 reasons why this curve is upward sloping. We already explored this. Okay? When we answered our lemonade questions, we answered it just like these 3 reasons. Okay? There's an increasing opportunity cost if you don't produce. Okay? As the price rises and you don't increase production, you're missing out on whatever money you could be making by increasing production. Number 2, current producers produce more. That's when you hired additional labor to help you make lemonade. And then number 3, new producers are attracted to the market. These are producers that have the capability of already producing lemonade. Okay, so the iced tea producers will begin making lemonade instead of iced tea. All right, we good? Okay. Here's an example using oil. All right. Do you think everybody who has an oil well in the world is going to be pumping out of their oil well when the price is only $3 a gallon? I mean, $3 a barrel? Nah, you wouldn't want to. Okay? Every country and every firm, every individual has different costs. Okay? Saudi Arabia, it's sand. You could kick the sand and oil comes out practically. Okay? It's easy to drill, it's easy to get out, and they have cheap labor. $3 a barrel is all it costs them to do that. So if the price of oil were only $6, they could do it, couldn't they? They could produce oil and make a profit. Okay? Russia cost them $10.30. It's just harder to get to. Okay? Canada, 12 to 18. They have to take this gummy tar-like substance and hit it with hot water to release the oil. Okay? That's harder to do. Okay? So it costs them $12 to $18. To get oil out of the Gulf of Mexico, it costs $15 to $20. And then finally, to get it out of Colorado, it costs $40. So if the price of oil were $6, which, by the way, why would it be $6? Why would it ever be $6? The only reason it would ever be $6 is because the demand curve was right there. Okay? That's the only possible way. Okay? If the price were $6, though, who's the only producer that would be selling it? That's right, because the others aren't willing and able to. Okay? As the price goes up to $11, is Saudi Arabia going to produce even more? Yeah, because now their opportunity cost for not producing more is $5 a barrel. Right? And the only reason it would be $11 is if the demand curve shifted to the right. Okay? Who else would be producing if the price were $11 a barrel? Maybe Russia, right? You know, they'd have to think about it. Who knows? Price goes up to 20. Who would begin producing? Canada could start, right? You could even get the Gulf of Mexico involved. What's the only reason the price goes up to $20? Okay, the demand increased. See how shifting the demand curve raises the price? The new price results in a change in the quantity supplied. Everybody get me? Okay. If the price goes all the way up to $45, now everybody can produce. Okay. Anybody know about what the price of oil is right now? Yeah, about $100 a barrel. So if it's only costing you $3 to get it out of the ground, that's a pretty good deal. Okay. All right. So what should the price of an iPhone be, according to that graph? $200? The $199, right? Okay. This is what it should be. At the price of $199, what's the quantity demanded? And what's the quantity supplied? Huh? Yeah, they're both 7, right? Okay, so that price is the one, that's the magic price that makes suppliers and demanders equal. Okay? That means everything produced is going to be sold. That's pretty good, right? Yes, ma'am? You mean like if they were, like if they couldn't do this? Like they can't produce that much? No, that would just make the price higher. You want to complicate it? I'll complicate it. We got you. We got you. You got a complicated question. If the supply curve were right there, the price wouldn't be here. It would be over here anyway. Oh. That would mean demand would go down. But let's illustrate what I'm trying to get at. What if the price were $599? How many would Apple produce if they could get $599? All right. If we were told that the price is $599, how many of us would want to buy it? All right. What does that create? No, it would be possibly, I suppose, but it actually would create a surplus. See, they would be producing 12,000, but only be selling 2,000. That means they have 10,000 left over. So what do they have to do if they want to get rid of them? That's right, they got to lower the price. So if they drop the price to $2.99, now how many are they willing to produce if they could get $2.99? Okay, y'all got that. And then how many are we willing to buy? 4. Surplus still? Okay, that's an issue. That means that they gotta do what with the price? You gotta lower the price again. What if they lower it to $99? We're not concerned about whether or not they're making money. All we want to know is what's going on in the marketplace. Is that an efficient price that eliminates all shortages and surpluses? Okay, that's what we're concerned with. So if the price were $99, how many do we want? We want 11,000. How many can they produce if the price is only $100? So what does that create? That's a shortage. Huh? That's right. Nah, they're gonna put their resources toward the iHand or something else that they can sell for a better profit. It should be. Well, let's look what happens again. What if they drop the price to $50? All right, so let's do this. Let's figure out what is the shortage. Like on a test question, you'll be asked, at the price of $49, is there a surplus or a shortage? And then by how much? 15,000, okay? So the price would need to be $199. That's an efficient price. It eliminates all shortages and surpluses. Everybody get that? That means everybody's happy. Because they're producing one, but we're only demanding, or we're demanding 16, so that's a shortage. Okay? Yeah. Okay, your question was, how do you know which number is the producer and which one's the consumer? Who are the demanders? Consumers or producers? And who are the suppliers? That's how you know. This is the supply curve. Goes up. And then this one over here is the demand curve going down. So the price corresponds to whatever point is on each of those curves. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Cool deal. Did you know that a lot of venues actually charge less than the efficient equilibrium price? Why would they do that? I don't know if they're being generous. This is an example, okay? This is old numbers because there's now 107,000 seats at Kyle Field. But when it was like 88,000 seats, okay, that's the supply curve. It's totally, completely vertical. Okay, the reason it's vertical is because they can't produce more seats. Okay, but look, the demand curve is downward sloping. That makes sense. That means they could sell every seat for $120. Okay, but why do they set the price at $90? Well, it says they will, equilibrium price. They could, other variables could come into play. What they want to do is they want to ensure that there's a shortage, because that way it's a hot commodity. People want to go see it. You know, this works better with like a Katy Perry concert. What would it be like if she couldn't sell out her auditorium in a day? Yeah, it'd make her look bad. So venues will do this. They'll offer things at a lower than equilibrium price just to ensure there's a sellout, and because it makes it look good. Okay. Anybody know why there's a scoreboard on the outside of the stadium? That's what you would think, but that's not it. Reveille. That's right. The grave sites are outside the stadium, and the scoreboard's right there at their graves. All right. So let's graph supply. Actually, we already know how to do this, don't we? Okay. We have prices and quantities, just like we had prices and quantities with the demand curve. The only difference here is that as the price goes up, so do the quantities. Okay, with the demand curve, the quantities got smaller. So all we do is we plot them like this, put the points, connect the dots, and we have a supply curve. Upward sloping, right? As the price goes higher, the quantities that producers are willing and able to produce goes up as well. Okay? And if supply increases, that just means that producers can produce more at every price. Okay? So at the $5 price now, instead of 62, it's 82, and so on down the line. So if we replot all those points, we get a curve to the right of the old curve.
So, are they selling farms or not?
Well, I don't know. That depends. Kish, it depends on this. Where's the demand curve? Okay? They'll sell it here. Now, if they're capable of selling it at a lower price, then the supply curve shifts right. And then that's how we end up with a new curve. So at that point, they would sell it for less.
They don't want to sell.
They want to get as much as they can. But what if, here, let me ask you a question. What if there's a lot of rain and they're able to grow a bumper crop? You know, now there's more corn available. Well, it's supply and demand. If there's more corn available, that's a shift of the supply curve. Movement along the demand curve creates a lower price. So they take what they can get. And the price is always whatever that equilibrium is. It's always. Oh, yeah. And we're going to talk about some more of those, by the way. Okay? And if supply decreases, That means lower quantities at every price, which means the supply curve shifts left. Now, do you remember the other day I told y'all we need to make sure we're thinking in terms of left and right, not up and down? Did I say that? I think I did. Well, this curve shifted up, didn't it? But that's a decrease in supply, so don't think up and down. Left and right, okay? Shifting to the left is a decrease, shifting to the right is an increase, okay? And then we combine with demand. We've already kind of done this, but basically we have this, okay? Whenever there's an equal number of buyers and sellers at a particular price, that's our equilibrium price. That's when all the corn that is produced will be sold, okay? Because somebody will buy it. If demand were to increase, whoops, that's supply. If demand were to increase, what happens to the price? Okay. What happens to the quantity supplied? Okay. So see, this is a change in demand leading to a change in price. The only thing price can change is quantities. In that case, quantity supplied. Yeah. Yeah, well, in this example, if demand goes up, price goes up, quantity supplied goes up. In that one. What if we increase supply? If supply increases, then you've got that change in supply leads to a what with price? Change in price leading to a change in the quantity demanded. But now we've got higher supply means lower price, which means greater quantity demanded.
So you have a lower price if there was more of it, and then it's rare.
Yeah. So it's not as rare. That's what makes the price go down.
Yeah.
And now that the price is lower, we buy more. Okay? The easiest way to do this, if you're not getting this like with words in your head, is draw the graph. You draw the graph, and then you look at the graph. When you see the new red supply curve, you can see what happened to the price, right? Can't you see what happened to the price? Then you can also see what happened to the quantity that is demanded. It moved from here to here. Everybody cool? All right. How many of y'all would pay somebody $7.25 an hour if they could only do $5 worth of work? You would or wouldn't? Why not? Y'all are mean. Turns out Aviana can produce 5 sandwiches per hour. She's pretty efficient, okay? If you ever tell her to make you a sandwich, she can do it, no sweat, okay? Kennedy, not so much. If you ask Kennedy to make you a sandwich, it's going to take her an hour to do it, okay? That's not good, is it? If they both work at Subway, should they earn the same wage? Why not? Aviana's more productive, right? Yeah. If this was a microeconomics class, we would spend a lot of time on this thing called, now I forgot what I called it. Anyway, it has to do with our productivity. What we actually earn is what we produce, okay? And Aviana would make a lot more money in that kind of situation. But what do we have? Why do we have to pay them the same? Yeah, we've got the minimum wage, okay? But what are they really worth? If Subway can sell each sandwich for $5 and their non-labor cost per sandwich is $2, if they just want to break even, okay, that means they can only pay $3 per sandwich to their workers. So how much should Aviana make? Okay, and how much should she make? 3. So we have to pay her $7.25. So what are y'all going to do knowing that? Are you going to pay her or not? You can legally pay her $7.25, or you can legally pay her nothing, but you cannot pay her $3, which is what she's worth. So what happens to her? She's out of here. She's fired. That's so sad. It's sad, but she's just not worth it. So let's show Kennedy here. This is, by the way, not overall labor, okay? This is unskilled labor. It is, but it also helps us analyze why it is we have unemployment, which is a macro idea, okay? So yeah, this is micro, but it helps explain macro. So we have a minimum wage. It's, is it $7.50 now or $7.25? I don't know why I had $7.50. I think I thought it was. Anyway, unskilled labor is not worth $7.50 an hour in this example because they don't produce $7.50 worth of product, okay? So the equilibrium would be here, this quantity, okay? $5. But we're mandated that you cannot pay $5 an hour, okay? So we're going to put the actual wage rate that's mandated by law right here. And at that rate, how much labor would be supplied? Okay, more than the equilibrium, right? Okay. Who supplies labor? No, the workers do. Okay. We supply labor. Who demands it? How much are they willing to buy at $7.50 an hour? Okay. So can y'all see an area on this graph that would show the unemployment? Okay, where is it? Yeah. The quantity of unemployed is right here. And so you see Kennedy. Okay?
Okay, so if this is a fact, why is the government keep raising it?
Well, because if they didn't, what would it look like?
So we'd rather have the government not do that than unemployed.
Well, yeah. I mean, would you vote for somebody who said the minimum wage should be abolished? Would you ever vote for me if I said the minimum wage should be dropped and abolished? Would you? Okay, see? That's why. Hi. Yeah, that's what this is. Yeah. That's why we're adding Kennedy to the unemployed ranks. All right, y'all cool with this? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, but how do you do that? Yeah, that's just the way it is. The reason they do this, to answer Corbin's question realistically, is they've decided, policymakers, remember, on the one hand this will happen, but then they realize this could occur as well. So they decide this is a good idea because it makes people feel good, and they're willing to accept the fact that there's going to be a group of unskilled people out there that the government has to support. Okay. My concern with it is that if you're not earning your own way, at least partially, what happens to your dignity, the dignity of your own work? Yeah, you feel worthless. Poor Kennedy. Imagine how she feels. Kennedy's just worthless now. Okay. All right. Anyway, the whole point is this. What we're illustrating here is a price floor. Remember on the very first day of class, the floor is way up here, ceiling's down there. If the floor is mandated at $7.50, that means prices can't go below it, and what it creates is surpluses. Okay. And, no. You can't go below the floor. Okay. You can't go above the ceiling. Try it. Go.
But you said it was the logic of backwards.
It is backwards. It is backwards. No, the placement is backwards. The floor is above the equilibrium. The ceiling, if there was one here, would be below the equilibrium.
So what are you saying that Kennedy is?
Kennedy is suffering from a price floor because she can't go below it as a worker, and that creates the surplus. Okay? Do y'all understand? It's a surplus. If the supply is greater than the demand, you have leftover surplus. Dude, are you not getting this? All right. I explained to you on the very first day of class that the definition seems backwards. Okay? Yes, that's a floor because it's above equilibrium. This down here would be a ceiling because it's below equilibrium.
Oh, I thought you were saying based upon the based upon the equilibrium. As you
Yeah, equilibrium is where it should be if market forces, natural, things would be allowed.
Where did you get $5 for religious?
It's just arbitrary. I picked it because Kennedy's worth $5 an hour. And she represents a whole lot of people. It's not just her. All right. How about this one, guys? Have y'all ever complained about the price of gas? I have. What if the government said gasoline prices are not allowed to rise above a certain level? Okay? Y'all pick a level. By the way, right now, gas is how much?
320 something.
320? Okay. So right now, gas is around $3 a gallon. What do y'all wish it would be? $1. That's what I would like. All right. So let's say the gas stations are screwing us over, and the government steps in and says you can't sell gas for more than $1. What happens? Okay. This would be the amount that stations are willing to supply to us. This is the amount that we would want to buy. And so, yeah, you said it, this would be a shortage. The distance between those two quantities is our shortage. Okay? So why is that a big deal? I want my gas for $1. I'm okay with this. Yeah, so is everybody else. That's how these lines got here. Did y'all know that those lines were in large part government caused? Yeah, that's true. That's good. All right. Does this make sense to y'all? So now, Corbin, this one's actually easier for us. Check this out. This is a price ceiling, okay? Price is not allowed to go above the ceiling, but now look at this. This is a house. There's your little chimney. Here's the door. So the ceiling actually looks like a ceiling, okay? Does that help? All right. It's still kind of screwy. Now, let's look at realistically why it is there would be a shortage, okay? If gas were $1, would you have any reason whatsoever to conserve? No. And you guys already demonstrated earlier, using our lemonade example, that the lower the price, the less willing you would be to produce it, right? So if the price were mandated to be $1, do you think every gas station could afford to sell it for $1? No, they wouldn't be able to, so they're not going to. And so that's why you end up with a greater demand than supply whenever a price ceiling is put in place. And that creates shortages. Okay? Instead of a fire. All right, so economics is cool, right? All right, so how is it those lines were created? It's because the government did put in place a price control. Okay? So they put in place a ceiling, and so you had a greater demand, then you had a supply, and so it creates shortages. Okay? Quick question. Y'all know what price gouging is? Okay. Well, what's it sound like? It sounds like that. All right. It would be like, let's say, the zombie apocalypse happens, and I have the only source for clean water, and I sell water to you guys for $30 a gallon. Would that be fair to you if I did that? Okay, that's what is meant by price gouging. Okay, so we're going to watch a video here. It's kind of interesting. Okay, but people debate this all the time, and so I want y'all to think about it.
Is price gouging evil? Everyone agrees that if a seller greedily doubles prices after, say, a hurricane, that's not only bad, it's immoral. People say that when gas prices are raised.
And they're taking advantage of us.
I think we're being ripped off. We are being hosed here, and the oil fat cats are lapping up the dollar.
Gouging at its best.
But what exactly is gouging? People say it's raising prices too much, but who exactly gets to decide what's too much?
For people to take advantage of those in need violates every biblical standard of morals that I'm aware of.
Mississippi's Attorney General announced a crackdown on gougers after Hurricane Katrina.
Massive destruction everywhere.
One gouger who was arrested was John Shepperson. He and his family live in Kentucky. They watched news reports about Katrina and learned people desperately needed things.
My wife just got out of the hospital, and she's very sick, and we need a generator.
John thought he could help and make some money too, so he bought 19 generators, and he and his family then rented a U-Haul and drove it 600 miles to this part of Mississippi, which had no power at the time.
5 million people in this region are without power.
John offered to sell his generators for twice what he'd paid for them, and people were eager to buy.
People were excited. We had a product they needed.
But instead, police confiscated his generators, and John was locked up in this jail for price gouging.
They arrested me, and I just could not believe that I was being arrested.
Authorities held him 4 days, and his generators are still in police custody.
And then nobody got any use out of them. They were useless.
So did the public benefit? The real question is, what's the best way to deal with shortages after a disaster?
Anybody, what do we need? Come on, guys. Generators. Food.
Anytime there's a natural disaster, a hurricane, an earthquake, the price of things that people desperately want to have, batteries, flashlights, generators, water, milk, they go up or they disappear.
Economist Russ Roberts points out that after the disaster, if sellers don't raise prices, supplies vanish. Anxious buyers line up and often buy more than they need just in case. Those not at the front of the line may get nothing.
More people want to buy it than there is stuff available. So what do you do? How do you solve that problem? How do you find out who should get those scarce items?
A major energy crisis.
During the last energy crisis, the politician's solution was to cap prices. But that didn't fix the problem. It made it worse.
It was a disaster. It led to long lines, and you couldn't get gasoline.
That's why today's high oil profits, says Roberts, are a good thing, because they're a huge incentive to oil companies to look for more oil.
You want them to make these monster profits?
I do. Higher prices are hard on consumers. Hard on consumers today, good for consumers tomorrow when those high prices give energy companies the incentive to go discover and refine more energy in the future.
Which is why what the politicians call gouging is actually good. Now I know you don't believe that.
That's absurd. It's absurd. Prove it. I mean, prove it. I don't know what Mr. Stossel is thinking.
Okay, you probably won't believe me or economist Roberts, but would you believe 3 Nobel Prize-winning economists, all of whom say gouging is good and the best way to get supplies to people who need them most?
Fairest and best way to do that.
And that's a good thing.
The gougers deserve a medal.
Because the higher prices bring in the goods that people desperately need.
If we don't let the price rise, there aren't going to be enough generators to go around. If we let the price rise, we give people an incentive to bring them in.
Somebody needs to bring these products to people when there are disasters and emergencies, and this is going to be one person that's not going to be there that they've took out of the equation.
Economists we talk to say he's a hero. You're the one who's immoral for saying he can't sell generators to people who want willingly to pay for them.
Look, my job is to enforce the law. Our laws state that you cannot increase your profits once a state of emergency has been declared.
People want to live in a world where love is what motivates people to help others, and love does that. But there isn't enough love to go around. Love for strangers isn't going to motivate enough people to get in their trucks, load them up with generators, and take them down to help people who are cold and hungry.
It makes sense. It's cold, though, isn't it? That's the thing with economics. It doesn't care who you are or any of that, okay? Let's see. Let me think of something. I wanted some more space to write on. Let's see. I guess I can use this. So basically what happened, this maybe this is generators, okay? It's not really, but we're going to make this generators because it's easy for us to do. Time of emergency, what happens to the demand for generators, okay? So we're going to shift the demand curve over here. So the new price ought to be right here, correct? If you mandate that the price stay right here, then you end up with that much demanded, but then only this amount supplied. And so the big question was, how do you decide who gets the generator? Since there's not enough, how do you decide? First come, first serve, who needs it the most? I mean, how do you do it? So that's the whole thing behind price ceilings, price floors. It creates surpluses and shortages, which can be inefficient. Yes, ma'am? Oh, I'm sorry. I should change that color. QD equals QS. So at equilibrium, quantity demanded will always equal quantity supplied. There are no shortages, there's no surpluses, it's the efficient allocation of resources as price signals decide where things go. Okay? You all happy with that? Okay. All right. So again, illustrating, if the price were set right here, okay, not allowed to go below it, that's a price floor. That would create a surplus. Not only do you need to know that that would be a surplus when the price is above equilibrium, but you also need to be able to calculate by how much. Bless you. So if 200 are supplied and only 60 are demanded, it's a surplus of how many? 140. Very good. And then if there's a price ceiling put in place, say this purple one, price is set at 30, can't go above it, okay? That's going to create shortages, but by how much? 160 minus 70. Everybody cool? So 90 would be the shortage. Okay. We've talked. We're not going to deal with cash for clunkers anymore. Let's just reiterate now. Law of supply says price goes higher, the quantity supplied also increases. Okay? As the price decreases, the quantity supplied also decreases. So this is all having to do with the law of supply. This is the same law of supply that we proved correct when we decided how much lemonade we were going to produce. Okay, so there's a direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. Okay, do y'all remember we talked about elasticity of demand? Yes. Okay, same thing occurs with elasticity of supply. Let me add a slide so I can draw on this for you. Yeah. Yeah. All right. All right, so just like with the demand curves, when we talk about elasticity, we're talking about how much does the quantity... No, it's how much does the quantity change with a change in price. Let's make this one even flatter. It actually refers to how quantity is changed by price. So then we draw our rubber bands. Stretchy rubber band for the elastic supply. Not very stretchy at all for the inelastic supply. Okay? So what do you think, what type of goods would have elastic supply? What that means is if the price changes a little bit, we can supply a whole lot more as a response to it. What type of thing? I don't know. How do you make luxury items? Give me an example. Like a Rolls Royce? Okay, think about it for a second. Now recall, just like the demand curve, the supply curve is the quantities of products that producers are willing and able to produce at every possible price during a given time period. Okay? So if this was Rolls Royce and the price went up, could they make a whole bunch more Rolls Royces in response to a change in price? They couldn't. They're hard to make. So if you have something that's difficult to make, it's not going to respond very much to price. Okay, so this over here would be more like our Rolls Royces. Okay? Price could go up a lot, but they can't respond very quickly to that change in price. Okay? Over here, though, this would be something else. What could it be? Not necessarily. Huh? Things that are easy to make. That's the key. Okay? If it's easy to produce, you can respond very quickly. Okay? So what? Give me something.
A desk.
Maybe a desk, but what is it? There's one thing that y'all buy all the time, and it's like y'all decide what it's going to be, and then the next week it's here and you got it. What is it? It's specific clothing. T-shirts. Okay? You can print a T-shirt in less than a minute. Okay? Like your prom shirts or your class T-shirts, all that junk. You could make those really, really quick. So if the price goes up, they can make a lot more very quick in response. Okay? So elasticity is just this. Yeah, that's it. Elastic supply means that a small increase or decrease in price can cause a significant change in the quantity supplied. Okay, so that means it's a relatively flat curve. Okay, it's upward sloping, but it's relatively flat. So things that would have elastic supply can be made quickly. Okay, very little expense. Okay, you don't have to build a new factory to produce more. All right, things that could use workers like Kennedy that have no skills. Okay. Number 4, what we mean by long time is if the time period for the supply curve is like a year, that'd be a long time. Remember, it's during a given time period. So if you have a long time horizon, you can build another factory to produce more Rolls Royces, right? But in a short period of time, you couldn't. Okay, things that don't require scarce natural resources, and so your examples, we gave the T-shirt example. Hats, shot glasses, posters, etc. Okay, all the little souvenirs that you buy when you go places. All right, inelastic supply, now that's going to be the steeper curve. Okay, these are things you can't make quickly, things that cost a lot to make. Okay, you have to hire technically skilled workers that may require more education. Okay, or more capital resources. Like you have to build a second factory if you want to make more. Okay, skilled workers. A short time horizon, so even T-shirts would be inelastic if your time horizon was 1 hour. Okay, so during the course of 1 hour, the price goes way up. Can they supply more T-shirts that quickly? No, so it'd be inelastic then. Okay, so examples here: gold, diamonds, computers. Most manufactured goods, like high-tech, high-value manufactured goods, are going to have inelastic supply. Okay, are y'all okay with that? Make sense? Okay. So here's a picture of inelastic supply. So regardless of price, producers are unwilling or unable to increase production, therefore quantity supplied, in response to a change in price. They just can't do it. Okay. So overall, elastic supply is very responsive to price, just like elastic demand is. Okay. Inelastic supply is unresponsive to price, just like inelastic demand is. And then you got your horizontal versus vertical lines. Easy enough concept? Okay. And again, in this class, we're not going to calculate elasticity of supply or demand. You just have to know the basic characteristics of it. All right. So let's move on. I'm gonna introduce our shifters of the supply curve. Okay. We have this thing called rat nest. All right. And we have time to write these down. That way you all can think about it a little bit before we actually do it next class. Okay. I don't think so. No. On your homework, you're gonna end up shifting one supply curve, but I'm gonna give you step by step how to do it. So you're gonna like see how it works naturally, and then next class you'll be able to apply it. But I want to try to get ahead of ourselves, okay? Because we have time. This stands for resource cost. Okay. If you have to remember, y'all are lemonade stand owners. If the price of lemons goes up, can you buy as many? Not necessarily, right? Yeah. If you can't buy as many lemons, can you make as much lemonade? Okay, so that stands to reason that something other than the price of lemonade could cause you to reduce the supply of lemonade, right? Okay, so resource cost is the resources: land, labor, capital, entrepreneurial ability. This right here is alternative output. Again, as a lemonade stand owner, it takes pretty much the same resources to make some other drink, right? Like iced tea or maybe Kool-Aid. Okay? So if for whatever reason people are demanding more Kool-Aid than lemonade, what would you produce? Yeah, you're going to respond to that higher price by producing more. In the short run, you're going to increase your quantity supplied. But then you're going to start diverting resources toward the production of Kool-Aid instead of lemonade. And so the alternative output choices can result in changes in supply. Yeah. Okay. T. Technology. Do you think children 200 years ago could produce as much lemonade as children today? Why not? Yeah, you got the powder, so the technology enables you to use a mix. You also have like juicers, okay? Yeah, the lemons can be grown more easily. There's all kinds of things. So the technology can shift the supply. Has nothing to do with the price of lemonade. It's just for that reason you can produce more of it. All right, this is when we introduce competition. Okay. As lemonade becomes more popular or whatever, or easy to produce, you end up with more competition. So the number of suppliers will affect the supply. There's more of them, there's more supply. This one's confusing. And my writing's getting bad. Expectations of future price. Okay? So if you got your lemonade stand and you watch the weather and the weather report says that it's going to be really, really, really cold tomorrow, but today it's pretty warm, when do you want to sell your lemonade? Right now, okay? So this one's a little bit ambiguous. We'll make it make sense next class, okay? This one's subsidies. Okay, that's ridiculous. Even my standards are better than that. Okay, it's just not going to work. Okay, it's off. It's like 2 inches off, isn't it? All right, subsidies, that's just money from the government. So if the government decided that they think more people should drink lemonade, they're going to put in place a program that pays you to make lemonade. So not only does your customer pay you, but for every glass, the government will give you some as well. So would that make you produce more? Okay. That would be a supply shifter. And then the last one also has to do with the government, and that's when they decide they take money from you. Taxes. Okay? If they're taxing your profit, you won't be able to produce as much. Anyway, those are all things we're going to spend the whole next class doing. And hopefully that'll make sense.